Hello and welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Bitcoin. Now, I just wanted to go over the last Bitcoin video I posted. This was on December 18th, about 2 weeks ago. And I had my primary account as this one here. Pretty much since the beginning of the channel, I've been reiterating the fact that I believe Bitcoin is moving correctively to the upside and not impulsively. And this was the count I had. I believe I didn't know if we were topped at this moment or if we needed one more wave up. And let's go back to the chart. I want to show you how this ended up panning out. This is that count. You can rewatch that video if you want on December 18th. But I said be very aware of this area here, the point of breakdown from the previous bear market. And I also had this pitchfork on. This is a shift, I believe. Yeah, pitchfork from our low to our top of our W wave to our X wave. And we had one more wave to the upside and we rejected from there. Now, if we go to our fibs as well, we need to go between log scale and linear. But you can see we're right between the 50 and the 618 on linear scale of this entire bear market move. So remember, we're in that area. I'm just going to get rid of this because it's too noisy on the screen, but we're between the 50 and the 618. So I've had a couple counts. This was my primary. And if we do get rejected here, I would expect us to come back for our B wave between the 618 and the 382, and that range, I'm using Bitstamp here, is 31,454 to 37,686, and that's the 382 to the 618 on both log and linear. So it's a pretty wide range, but we'll have to see how far we come based on the waves that pan out if this count is accurate. But I would prefer us to stay above these highs so that we don't break any significant market structure. So that's right in the range we would want that to be, but you can see how well pitchforks can work. Like, we just smashed off the top there and rejecting here. Now, nothing says we can't move to the upside. I just wanted to show you this. So down on the 15-minute, the 1 hour. We'll have to go to the 4 hour here for this correction. This last correction. So this is a difficult one because in one case, we can move to the upside more. This is where Elliott Wave can be helpful and also frustrating at the same time, because this can easily be a running or expanded flat, and we keep moving to the upside. A 333 as a WXY, if we rejected right from here, you can see we have 3 waves in, or if we make 5 waves down, that can be the start of the down move or the end of a flat. So you can see how that can be kind of frustrating between the two. A 335 and we're complete as an ABC, and we move to the upside. Or if this is completed as a 5th wave, then we would make 5 down, get our ABC to the upside, then continue to the downside. Now, the important thing to remember is what happens over here should give us an indication of what's to come. Do we reject hard? Do we come down in 5, and do we reject hard as an impulse? Once we have a 4th wave in this area, say this happens, say we get a 4th wave, do we reject hard above previous resistance and then channel sideways? If that happens, I would suggest taking a long. Or do we make a 4th wave, come down, then come up correctively, get a 1-to-1 extension, choppy waves. If that's the case, we want to take a short. So we won't really know until it happens. But one thing I wanted to point out here is this does look like a flat. It looks like we have a 335. I mean, the only way you could put that as complete on this chart is if this is an ending diagonal series of threes. But it's a really ugly ending diagonal. Again, it's valid, but it's ugly. It's not what we expect. We would have expected something like this in a nice contracting channel, like so. That's why if I had to pick between the two, I'd say this is most likely a flat. But obviously I can be wrong, and we'll be able to get a better idea once this area fills out here. Now, one thing I did do is go over to the CME futures, and what's interesting, so remember this area, I'll show you that on the hourly on the CME futures here. On the CME futures, I can get a triangle out of this correction as a 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and then we explode, just like we should expect at the end of a triangle. So if this pattern was across the board, I would say this is most likely a top. What do we expect in a triangle, right? We expect long, drawn-out three-wave patterns and then a explosion at the end, which is exactly what this is on the CME futures. So I'm really torn between if this is a top or not at the moment. But it's very important to realize those differences. I always check the CME futures as well at the end. And you can see if this is a flat, this is our B wave extensions invalidated at the 1.618. Our most common is the 1.236 to the 1.382. And you can see we came right up into that area. So very interesting spot. But I want to see if we get one more wave down here. If we don't and we just come up, hopefully there's enough time to realize that and we just pan sideways here and we can make a decision at that point. But at the moment, if I had to pick a side, this is my primary right here, that we get this move back to the downside and then we make our push for our C wave in this Y, and this ends up being a zigzag 535. We can screw around and go around from the middle, but where would that take us? It would take us up to about the 1.236 extension of this W wave if we got the 50, as you can see, or if we came a bit lower, we'd get a bit lower. But that's the 1-to-1 of that second A wave, probably around 60,000. So that's, we just need to look at that at the evidence, and this looks like a completed 5 now if you go off the CME futures. If you go off Bitstamp, it looks like a flat and we could get one more wave up. But we're at resistance. We're between the 50 and the 618. We're at the end of a pitchfork. So you got to look at the evidence, right? Also on the daily, we have double divergence, which is either indicative at the end of a trend of a 5 wave, or it's at a B wave, and we would come a little bit further, come up, make divergence again, but a higher high, and then we fall over. So that's what I expect to see on the daily, similar to here. See, we make double divergence, then we fall. We expect double divergence, then we fall. But it's a very difficult moment here. Now also, on my last video, show you that. This was my alternative right here. And I am not a fan of it whatsoever. I'm really not. But we have to have a bullish alternative here, and that's what I got. The extensions are all off for regular impulse. Again, we're in a shift pitchfork hitting off that, and no other pitchfork makes sense at the moment. But that was my secondary count there, up around 80,000. But if we go back to trading view, I'll show you what I mean. I didn't like this as a wave 2. It was a really fast sell-off. Although we did get a sideways correction in the second one. Again, this one's very extended in time, which is okay. It's just not the norm. But we look at this count. Again, we're between the 50 and the 618 of this down move. Our extensions in blue there, as you can see, as my minuscule 1-2. We're not quite at target, so this is where you have to use both scales. So our 1-2 in green, we've already hit the 1.618, which we would expect to get the green 1.618 in green. So if this count is correct, we'd have to get extensions for our third wave to non-typical Elliott wave extensions. We'd have to come up to the 200% of this first one too. Now where it does work on linear in blue, let me get rid of this green. Remember, green doesn't line up properly for our extensions. So let's look at blue. Blue it does, because I pulled this off the second blue one too. You can see we're right at the 1.618 to 1.764. We'd then expect a retracement for our fourth wave, and our fifth would come between 47,000 and 52,000 of our third. So that works on linear of the second wave if we have an extension. But again, on green, which is our first one too, doesn't work. We get extensions, which is fine. Again, we can come up for our fifth to the 200 and get an extension in the fifth up to around 70,000. But as you can see, if this is our wave 2, we'd expect this wave 4 to be very long in time here, similar size as this one. So it could take a very long time. Those targets are between, if this is a fourth wave, we'd expect to hold the 236 to the 382. Have those in log and linear. I'll mark those here for you. Pull that out a little bit. And there's your price range, 36,331 to 49.30. But we'd want to hold this previous support right here. Come right up to our fourth wave and hold that area. Because when we break that area, probability shift that we're coming to the downside. So that's where I'm at with Bitcoin. Again, we could get that flat, get one more high, but I mean we've hit targets here already. And this one just has more evidence that it's correct. With the levels that we're at between the 50 and the 618, the fact that we were at the end of a trend channel here. We did hit the 1.236 extension here on linear. But again, it's up in the air. Bitcoin's going to do what it's going to do, but this is really going to decide what the market as a whole is going to do. I'm going to take a look at all the coins, all the positions we were in before. I think I got stopped out on pretty much all of them. Unfortunately, a lot of them I was able to get break even, which is nice, but very frustrating spot there. But yeah, that's it for Bitcoin. Right now, expecting a move to 31,454 to 37,868, and that is my primary. One more alternative, but I think it's unlikely, is this is somehow a 5 wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ugly, again, possible. And this is all an ABC, and we are complete. Completed correction, and we make new lows. Right, so obviously unlikely, very unlikely, but that is obviously an option. So right now, looking for this, I'm going to check out on all the other coins going on to see if they look pretty bearish. We might have to change our mind whether those choppy patterns at the bottom are part of a corrective, a correction rather than a truncation. So we'll take a look at that, and I'll make sure to get all the updates for you guys. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Be sure to subscribe if you want the updates, and thanks for watching.